time to fuel your business success. Welcome to Harmonious at Lunch. We're bringing you bite-sized advice and expert conversations to drive clarity and growth 5 days a week. Make sure you join our Facebook group at humanop.com/lunch, where listeners like you and our guests hang out so we can find harmony in business together. If you're building a business, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Can you be a successful entrepreneur and good parent at the same time? That's the question we're going to answer today. And we're going to show you how to do it. We're going to teach you from someone who's been there, done that. Rob Finlay, welcome to the show. And thank you for being here.
Oh, Brendan, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
This is a big topic. First of all, it's an important topic. I don't want to skip over that, but this is a big deal. I've heard a lot of people say that you kind of have to make some sacrifices somewhere. You can't be the best parent, in our case, the best dad, and a really successful business owner at the same time. I want to disagree with those people. I hope you do too. But what's your sort of journey to get here? Because you've been in business a long time. You've also been a dad for a long time. Where did this start for you?
Well, I think I think for me, I started my first business when I was, I think, 29 years old, right? And so I had young kids. My kids are now in what I call the adulting stage, right? So they're out of college, or one's still in college, but they're going through this stage. And I feel like, for the most part, I think trying to be a good parent and a good boss, good leader, a good entrepreneur is very difficult, right? Because you're feeling the challenges along the way. It's very hard. And so I think one of the biggest things I try to teach people now is that being with your kids isn't just about being there, but you have to be present, right? You have to be present. And so it's the quality of time that you spend with your kids, not necessarily how much time you spend with them.
Absolutely. I mean, I've noticed that it's part of my journey as well. The first, I would say, 6 months to a year, where my oldest, after he was born, I was there physically, but I definitely wasn't there mentally. I was so stressed in what was going on in my business and balancing this. Oh no, now I have to provide for another small little human being. And it really overwhelmed me. And I've learned slowly, having 3 kids now, that they really don't care if you're there physically, because they'll keep asking the same question until you answer it the way they want to answer it, and they can really sense it. Did you ever struggle with that while your kids were growing?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of us, a lot of successful business people come from the mindset that I have to provide for my family, right? And that's what I do. I start the business, I have to provide, and then you start to get the stress. Well, I got to provide for my employees and my shareholders and this and that and my clients, and it becomes overwhelming of how you prioritize what's important. And so I think for a lot of people, I think it's really good to step back and sort of prioritize. I think you talk about this too. Prioritize yourself first, right? If you're not good, if you're not in a good space, you're going to be a horrible boss, right? You're going to be a not a great business leader. And if you can get yourself into a good spot, and then you work on your family, making sure that that's in a good spot, and then you focus on your business, I think by setting that priority, that you're going to do a good job with all 3. And as I said, it's not. We know there's challenges, right? I mean, you're going to be on a Thursday night. You're supposed to be out with the kids, and you've got your big customer that's going to, who's going to churn, right? You've got to be able to address that stuff. But I think it comes down to explaining to your family, and that comes down to open communication. And I think that's one of the biggest things. And I know in my past, I've sort of held everything in, right? I could weigh the stress of my business. You could watch me. People used to say, "Oh, we could tell your business, Rob, by your size," right? So, Fat Rob came out when I was really stressed, and then then I could focus on myself. Then I could lose some weight and came back. And so you could watch these pictures of the stress of my life. That's not healthy. That's not sustainable, and that doesn't really produce the results. So really being open with your family and your friends and your employees and everybody else, I think really gives you a good start and a good mindset to be able to handle the challenges of life, running a business, and being a good parent.
What does that look like, though, in real time? Because I know a lot of people, and I'll even put myself in this, a past version of myself. You don't want to you don't want to be perceived as weak or incompetent, right? Like you don't want to say, "Oh, I'm really struggling. I don't know how to do this. I need help. Or I'm really stressed right now." How do you approach those conversations with family, friends, maybe even employees or coaches, and get the help you need so that you don't have to be fat Rob, or in my case, high blood pressure Brandon,
Yeah.
very real thing, by the way,
Right. Yeah.
so that you can get that help.
Yeah, I think, look, first of all, once again, it comes back to you, right? So take a look at yourself. I know itself be true. Where are you stressed? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of business owners, I should say, right? It's not just entrepreneurs. I've been doing this for 25 years. So the entrepreneurial side is sort of gone. It's now running good sized businesses. I think the stage there is really prioritizing what's important and focusing on that. I think a lot of times, and I used to do this myself, I'd be focused on everything and I couldn't prioritize. And so if you start to focus on your business and yourself first, say, okay, what are the biggest things that really are impacting my business that I need to focus on? Sales, HR, whatever, innovation. And then you actually put in your calendar actual time allocated for those things. And so if you actually look at my calendar, I have my calendar is color coded. So I go in and first thing in the morning, I do things that are specific to setting the most important things that drive my business. The next section I do is I take some time off to focus on things that are important to me, learning, right? Education, things that stimulate my mind. But I will also put in and block out time for personal and family. I think this mindset that, yeah, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, and you have to work 100 hours a week, and you see this stuff, that's ridiculous. You're not good past 20, right? In a day, if you can get 2 or 3 good solid work hours out, like where you're really using your mind and driving change in the business, you're successful. All the rest of the time, you're just dealing with all the crap that people want to throw on you, and it makes you feel better because you feel like you're solving problems, but you're not. You're only solving problems if you can focus on the high value problems and address those. And when you can start to set your schedule to that mindset, and there's a lot of groups out there, there's a lot of organizations, a lot of coaches that will help people sort of help them prioritize and get to that really optimization of your time. But once you have that, then you realize, and once you let yourself say, hey, I'm subject to that schedule, but now I need free time for myself, you start to put it in as that becomes a much better allocation of time. And that's honestly, it's changed my life. It's probably one of the most powerful things I've done. I went from doing 80-hour, 100-hour weeks to maybe 40, right? I think about work a lot. I just never turn it off, but I'm not sitting at my desk. I'm not trying to solve everybody's problems. I'm trying to solve the major problems that impact my business. And the rest of the time, I'm doing stuff for my family and for myself.
Yeah, when you can make that shift, it's huge. And my calendar is also color coded, and
Yep.
it does two things for me. It allows me to look at it at a glance and know where I'm spending my time and if I'm on track.
Yep.
If I see way too much blue for me is the items that could be deleted.
Yep.
It's not the highest priority for me. So if I see blue, I know I'm in a bad place. Versus if I see purple, if I see yellow, those are the revenue producing activities. I want to see more of those. The other thing it does though is, well, like you said, I mean, I used to be guilty of the 80-hour weeks too. And now I can say, oh, I really only need to do like 6 hours of productive work to fulfill
Mhm.
a 40-hour week.
Yes.
Um, and just organizing yourself in that manner helps you continue to move forward. So those little benchmarks. It's like the speedometer on your car, right? But
Yep.
let's shift this back to the parent side, the dad side, because
Yep.
as your kids are growing up, you're doing all this stuff, you're learning, you're investing in yourself, you're investing in your business, you're growing your business. What are some of the key principles and lessons that you've taught your kids over the years that are unique to your journey as a business owner?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to the same sort of fundamentals that make you as a good business leader, right? Understanding finances, networking, socialization, communication. Those are skills that I've taught my kids, and I absolutely encourage business leaders, take your kids to work. Let them see, take them not just to work, but like business meetings. My kids have all been in business meetings. They've seen business lunches, they've seen business dinners. And I think people get a really good perspective of that. Now, I'm not saying bring your 5-year-old to to an important closing dinner, but as your kids get older, letting them have exposure into what you do. I think, I recently wrote a book called Hey Dad, Everything You Should Have Learned About Being an Adult, but Didn't. And it was really based upon that thing where I don't know if I focused so much on the business that I did not teach my kids the skills that they needed in order to be functioning adults. And I think that, and I've talked to a lot of people, not just writing this book, but before it. And I think we all had the same thing. It's like, yeah, my kids call me and they're asking me, hey, how to put air in their tires. Hey, they're asking me, how do I get an apartment? Hey, I have these tax forms, like I'm just about to get a job, but I have to fill out these forms. How do I fill them out? All of these things are things that, we deal with on a daily basis. Like we teach our employees right down to the T. Are we doing that same thing to our kids? And I think my recommendation for a lot of adults and a lot of parents who are business owners is to try to remember that your kids are also, you're building a team, right? Making sure that they're learning and they're actively engaged in what you're doing. And that sort of through osmosis will actually give them some perspective.
I love that. I don't know if I fully agree though. I work from home and
Mhm.
I live at work. I don't really want to bring my kids to work anymore. I don't know if I can if I can handle that.
Right,
Sometimes they just barge in the store. I'm like, okay, now's not the best time, maybe.
right. But you have to
I do
remember,
agree overall.
but look, here's the thing. I mean, I've said I've been doing this for 25 plus years. The lack of socialization in our young adults, their ability to communicate verbally, right? Being able to network, being able to go out, right? Like my kids, I think the biggest shock for them is they graduate college and they're thinking, hey, I'm just going to get a job. I'm just going to go on Indeed or LinkedIn and get a job. And you have to tell them, like, hey, no, you actually have to network, you have to work, you have to go in. And these are foreign concepts to these kids. If it's not on their phone, right? You mean I actually have to call somebody? I have to set up and try to do a meeting. Those are hard skills to learn, and they're very uncomfortable when you're 24, 25, 23 years old. It's a lot easier when you're younger to feel comfortable talking to people and being in a situation where, yeah, you might be a little uncomfortable.
I agree. And it's one of those things where you also have to look at, as a business owner, you hire people who are probably in that age range or close enough to it. Do you ever take this mindset to your employees and help them with the real life skills too? I mean, I just for an example, I had a business a couple of years ago and the employees were relatively young in the low to mid 20s on average. And I noticed all those same things. I didn't have kids at this point, but I was like, wow, nobody taught you how to put air in your tires or how to fill out this form to work here.
Right?
And I looked at it more of a mentorship role. And I do that everything you're saying now with my kids because it's important. But do you also take that mindset to your employees?
Absolutely. So one of my first, all of our analysts have come in. I actually do a three-part sort of business dinner or business meal session. So I start out with, basically the first one, it's just them. Second one, they get to invite a date, and then the third one, I just put them in random business people, and so that they can go on their own. I think one of those things like that the simple act of entertaining or taking a business dinner or a business meal is foreign. And this came smack clear to me when we had a dinner and I had a business meeting. I'm discussing. I had an analyst with me. I said, "Why don't you order some apps and so I can continue my business meeting?" He ended up ordering soup for himself. So that's the appetizer that comes to the table is soup. And so at that point, I realized like these kids just don't have those lessons, right? So you have to train them. These are things that, maybe you were fortunate enough. My dad took me to business meetings. I learned how to have a business meeting when I was younger. And I learned that you sit and you don't order soup, right? You don't order messy food. You eat something that's quick and easy and because it's all about the communication. Kids don't realize this, right? How to order wine, how to tip, all of that kind of stuff. It's just sort of out of their purview. So it's the same thing as when my daughter called and asked, "Hey, can I put the green gas in my Jeep?" And I'm like, "Hey, this is actually a true story. Middle of the night, and this is actually this is what was sort of the point where I started the book, where I was like, I have to write this book. I got a call from my daughter. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I wake up and, every parent, this is their dread, right? A phone call in the middle of the night from one of your kids is the thing we dread the most. Pick up the phone. What's wrong? She's like, can I put green gas in my Jeep? Like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, we're on a road trip. The gas, there's no more gas. All I have is this green gas. Can I put the green gas in my Jeep? I'm like, foggy. I come out and I'm like, wait a second. Are you asking if you can put diesel in your gas Jeep? Like, no, you cannot. But that was the point where I was like, did I not teach her this? Have I not taught this? And once again, coming back to the guilt of being an entrepreneur, a business owner, right? You spend so much time on your business. Well, I can tell you, I have 3 girls and a son. I can tell you my girls, up until the time they left, never had to do anything with their car. All it was, Daddy, there's some light going on in my car. Daddy, and Dad would all, because that's what dads do, right? And so it's almost that opposite of trying to teach them and have them grow. You're trying to take responsibility for them and micromanage their life, as opposed to just like you wouldn't do that at work, right? I don't sit there and let my customer service reps, I don't take all of their phone calls, right? And so it comes back to the same thing.
Well, that's how you grow your business too. I mean, in the business context, I think companies that stay small, they do jump in and solve the problems and take the calls. I mean, I had this moment yesterday with my son. My lawnmower blew up over the weekend, which was very depressing. I love cutting my grass. So I took the motor apart and he's asking me, he's 6 years old, 1,000,000 questions. I mean, no less than 1,000,000 for sure.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, I can't answer one more of these questions. But then the thought popped in my head. I was like, wait a minute. Why do I know how to answer these questions? And why do I know how to take this motor apart? Oh, because my dad showed me and answered those questions for me. And I was like, okay, calm down, answer the questions, teach him. Don't just do things, but teach. It's exactly what you're saying. So
yeah,
I think that's
those 6-year-old hands can reach those little pieces that your hands can't. So that's exactly why you know how to do it.
Hey, son, reach up inside there. If it's hot, don't go too fast.
Yeah, right. If it's hot, don't touch it. If it's sharp, don't touch it. But reach in there and grab that, right? With your little hands, they can fit in there. Yep.
Yeah. So it's the harder way to go for sure, but it pays off dividends in the long run, which is exactly what you're saying here. So tell me, as we wrap this episode up, tell me about the book. Tell me where people can find it, where they can connect with you, and most of all, what you want people to get out of reading the book.
Yeah. So as I said, the book is called Hey Dad, Everything You Need to Know About Being an Adult But Don't, was really built off of my kids, my 4 young adults. I went out and I interviewed 30 experts, from Navy SEALs to NASCAR race car drivers and crew chief, everything you get to clinical psychologists, right? Everybody in between, on all the basic foundational things that young adults need. This isn't about how to tie a tie, but why you should wear a tie and when you should wear a tie, right? So big foundational parts of it. It's a very simple read. It's not preachy. And it's really meant for anybody who either is looking for advice on how to make sure their kids have the right foundation, to it's a great graduation gift, right? You're looking for somebody to that's graduated. It's a great graduation gift. It's really meant for anybody who's going through this change, this dynamic change from being a sort of a dependent child to an independent young adult. And there's a lot of things that are going on, right? Trying to find out what you want to do in life, all this other stuff. So that's what the book is about. You can find it on robfinlay.com, or you can find it on Amazon, anywhere where you buy books, it should be there. Anywhere. But if you want to reach out to me, social media, as well as the robfinlay.com.
I love it. Rob, thanks so much for being here.
Great. Brandon, thanks so much for having me.
Wherever you're watching and listening, the links are down below in the show notes. Connect with Rob. Go grab a copy of the book. Go check that out. And I hope we answered the question, can you be a successful business owner and a successful parent? We say yes. So if anyone else says no, disagree with them and do it your way, but do it the right way. And I encourage you to keep trying every single day. I promise you, it gets better. Rob can attest to that too, and it's worth it. We'll see you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch.
Another episode of Harmonious at Lunch in the books. I hope this episode made you think and you grabbed some actionable ideas to propel your business. Don't forget to like, Comment your takeaways and subscribe wherever you're listening so we can help more entrepreneurs just like you achieve harmony in their life and business. For cutting-edge tools that bring clarity to your people and processes, check out humanoff.com.